500 people. The closing party on the Sunday, I would hope that there's more. I would love to have 300 or 400 people from across the Limerick community, from the business, SME, multinational and startup community coming in to support and embrace this event and this platform for entrepreneurship across Limerick.
Absolutely. Now there might be one or two prizes for guests that they could win over the course of the weekend. There's a little bird told me there might be something read and signed to give away. Can you clarify?
Can I clarify, Stephen? Can I?
Yeah.
Well, a little birdie. That birdie is Stephen Dunworth, the person who's interviewing me right now, has told me that there's going to be there's going to be 1 to 2 signed Munster jerseys given away to attendees over the weekend. So people who've come along to support and embrace the weekend and help out the local startup community, we're going to be giving out prizes to them also. We're really excited about it. It's great to have some of the Munster team involved, coming down and supporting. And again, it just shows the type of people who could come and get involved. I mean, when you have Munster players wanting to come to this type of event to see what's going on in the local startup scene, it shows that anybody should be coming to this type of event.
Absolutely. Now, obviously we couldn't run this event without the help of local community sponsors, so can you tell me who signed up already to help out and get behind Startup Weekend?
I'm going to do just a slight little jig here while I do this. So some of our sponsors to date are the Nexus Innovation Centre here. This is where we held the event. We're also sponsoring part of the hosting of this event this year. Who else? There we go.
Yeah.
Live streaming, Stephen?
I think we're live streaming. Okay, fantastic. Take a drink there, Shane. This is going to be...
I have to sound and audio check this now and make sure everything's okay.
Yeah. Right, Shane, welcome.
Thank you, Stephen.
Monday evening, we're here to talk about Startup Weekend Limerick.
I'm excited.
Good.
I'm super excited.
Good. Right, well, I suppose we start off. So can you tell us a little bit about the format of the weekend?
I will indeed, Stephen, I will indeed. A Startup Weekend is 54 hours of startup madness. That's what it is. So people come together on a Friday night, Friday, April 10th, in the University of Limerick in the CSIS building. So people come together Friday night between 6 and 6:30, and they basically come together with ideas. So we're expecting about 60 attendees in Limerick, and we would be anticipating that about 30 of these to 40 of these people are going to pitch an idea. So you come in on the Friday night between 6 and 6:30. You either want one of 2 to 3 things. You want to participate in a team, you want to lead a team, you want to pitch an idea. So people come in, they pitch their idea. After they pitch their idea, it goes to a vote by the audience on what the best ideas are. Mm-hmm. And then the ideas are solidified down into teams. And this is one of my favourite parts of the whole weekend, is that people, after they pitch their idea and after they think that they've won the initial part, they have to go and structure their teams. You have to go and hustle. You have to go and get people on board, not only believing in your idea, but believing you can lead a team, which is fantastic. So after they've pitched their idea, they've got through the pitch component of it, they've formulated their team, then they come in, then they leave, then they go in and they start thinking about their idea and their concept and what they have to validate throughout the weekend. That usually wraps up Friday night. We're having a launch party on the Friday in Limerick, that's going to be pretty epic. Then Saturday people are in bright and early. It's an 8:30 in the morning start, and you better not be expecting to finish till about 11 or 12 o'clock that night. And your goal on the Saturday really for a startup weekend is to test and validate as many components of your idea and your strategy as possible. So are you going to be able to acquire users if it's software or hardware? Are you going to be able to test the product if you're going towards business to business or business to consumer? How are you going to get the industry to validate your idea? That the simple point of it, how are you going to understand that people are going to pay for your solution? So that's what Saturday is. Saturday is really about validation, it's about team building, and it's about getting as much of your idea across the line as possible. Now throughout the day on Saturday you have mentors coming in on board. So there's probably 10 to 15 mentors on board for Startup Weekend. I'm sure we'll talk about them later. And then on the Sunday morning, people come in, the minters are back in again. You have an early morning, you're trying to validate again, more validation, structuring your pitch for the pitch competition that's coming later that evening. Minters come back in between 12 and 2, and then really between 2 and 4, it's shoulder to the wheels art of the thing. You're putting together, finalising your pitch. I'm sure we'll talk about Ed Kavanagh in a while. Ed will be coming down to consult with people from Clare Pressa. But yeah, simply, then you have the pitch competition that evening. I mean, we're expecting an audience of 150, 200 people, maybe more, in the CSIS building for a Sunday close party. So that's really the format of the weekend. Friday, come in, pitch your idea. Saturday, validate. Sunday, pitch, and hopefully win the competition.
Brilliant. Now, are there any rules or criteria for the business ideas that can be pitched on the Friday night?
I think basically, like from our experience, the simple rules, if you want to put it like that, is you can't have already worked on this idea. So somebody asked me, they pitched an idea at the last startup weekend, but it didn't go through. Could they pitch the same idea again? I said, yes. Have you worked on the idea in the meantime? Have you got substance? They said, we haven't touched it since. So I said, of course, work away. But a company like ours, just take Blue Cheese Social, we have developed software in the past. Now, we never brought that software to market, but we couldn't move forward with one of those products. Example, Taxi Chief or Roster Chief. We couldn't take one of these and pitch it at a startup weekend because we have loads of work done on it. So, specifically to answer your question, is there a criteria? You can't have loads of substance behind the idea already. You're supposed to be coming in more off the cuff with an idea. Maybe you've thought about this for a while, but you don't have your research or your sales or marketing or any of this done on it.
Brilliant. So, in your opinion, who is the ideal attendee? Who should attend Startup Weekend in Limerick?
Ooh, good question, Stephen. Who should attend? I really think it should be from 4 or 5 different segments. People who work in SMEs and who want to challenge themselves. So people who've been working with SMEs for a while, who've had an idea, they've seen a problem within their industry, and they think this is an opportunity to test it. I would say people working in multinationals. Like if you look at Startup Weekend in Paris and London in America, like a lot of the people attending aren't students. They're not young people. Like the demographic is 30 to 50 years of age. These are in senior management positions and they want to test the concept that they've had in their head for a while. And where better to do it in 54 short hours. Students, of course, I mentioned them, they should be participating. This is an opportunity to see, could you align to working in a startup environment, or have you the capacity to do so? Also, people off the street. I mean, people all around us have ideas. They come and tell us all the time. So once you have the confidence to come and share that idea, and that's another big thing. People have to have the confidence to come share and pitch this idea. Because if you don't, you should be coming as a team member. Other than that, I think it's professionals. So if you're going SMEs, multinationals, students, and professionals. There is no age limit on this. I think the oldest person we had participating at the last Startup Weekend was late 50s. The youngest person we had participating was in their late teens. So there is no age limit on it. There is no industry-specific limit on it. It's not just technology. The winner of last year's one, the first one we ever ran in Limerick, was head food, and it was around a food product, a gluten-free food product. So it wasn't software that won, it wasn't hardware that won, it wasn't technology. So any industry, any people who have an idea and want to test the concept in 54 short hours, that's who should be coming.
And for these people, do you think, for anyone that has an idea for a business but might be kind of, dilly-dallying over the idea, might be quite apprehensive about going forward with the idea, do you think that this weekend is a great platform to launch that startup and take it further?
I think so. I think it's fantastic. I mean, if you look at the length of time it took us at the start of our journey at Blue Cheese, Stephen, to test and validate ideas, it was a 9 or 12 month cycle. And now, if I'd have known back then that there was this unbelievable event called Startup Weekend where you could test it in 54 hours, that's what I would do. Like, this is an opportunity like no other. I mean, in 54 hours, you can go in, build a team, validate, and even if you don't get your idea over the line and you don't win, that's okay. You have a substantial amount of work done on testing and analysing this going forward. So I think it's very worthwhile, and I think anybody who has an idea, like I personally cannot wait to participate in a Startup Weekend. I've been there as a guest. We both co-organised a couple of events, and I just can't wait to have the opportunity to go and test a few of these out myself.
So all in all, what do you think?
Have you many people tuning in, Stephen?
I can see at least 5 there anyway.
Excellent.
Hello people tuning in.
Hello people tuning in. Hello. Go Startup Week in Limerick.
So what do you think that people ultimately will get from Startup Week in Limerick?
Mentally drained, is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
Nah. Jokes aside, you will be mentally drained, but it's one of the most rewarding weekends of your life. What will people get? They'll get to meet like-minded people, which is one of the keys, I think, to the whole weekend. You get to find out that there's other people out there like you that have ideas and they've taken a while to push them over the line or to get them where they want to go. You get to meet people from different industries, so you've designers, developers, professionals, startup people, students, all coming together. And that's usually not a network that people have. They're not that open. You know, students tend to stick with students, startup people tend to stick with startup people. So I think some of the best things they get is an open network. They get to meet like-minded people. They get to test and validate a concept in the shortest time frame possible. And also, they get to understand what it's like to be in a startup. I mean, like, startups are one of the most brilliant adventures you can be on, but they're not exactly simple. And Startup Weekend is an unbelievable platform to test yourself and challenge yourself in that environment.
So the last Startup Weekend that we ran back in November here in the Nexus Centre.
It was awesome.
For you, what was the highlight of that Startup Weekend?
Outside of the Sunday night parties, all of those people looking in who were at that, the highlight was just the buzz. Like, we're in the startup space in Limerick maybe 3 years, and I don't know have we ever had such a weekend just full of, you know, buzz, excitement, people talking, startups, people wanting to test loads of ideas and loads of different ideas. And that's probably it. Like, one of my key learnings from Startup Weekend, or one of my key take-homes, was the amount of innovation and disruption that is possible across places like Limerick. I mean, we had 19 people pitch ideas at the last Startup Weekend, and some of them ideas, even the ones that didn't get through, I thought were unbelievable. So having my mind open to different solution scenarios, I think that was the biggest take home from the November event, and the amount of energy and passion it brought to the Limerick startup scene.
Brilliant. So if you had 3 tips for any participants that are going to come along on the 10th of April, what would they be?
Be clear with your idea and what you're trying to achieve, while at the same time having an open mind to people's suggestions. That's number 1. You have to be clear so you can convince people. You have to be open-minded so that they can help guide your idea in the right way. Number 2, hustle. Hustle, hustle, hustle. You have to hustle with your idea. You have to hustle to build your team. And then once your team is built, you have the real hustling to do, which is the validation of your idea in a shorter time frame as possible. One of the biggest weaknesses I thought from the last event is people were still trying to validate the concept at 2 o'clock on the Sunday. The validation, you should know before you're coming in, well, as best you can, what areas you need to validate. So I think hustling would be number 2. And number 3 is respect. You have to get people to like you, your idea, your team, so that they'll help you. So you have to be respectful to your team members, respectful to other teams, respectful for the fact that the people you're going to try and hustle with on the Saturday, it's their weekend. You have to be respectful for that, but also you have to get your answer. You need to know, are they going to pay you money for this? So go back to, you have to come in with a clear idea, but an open mind. You have to be able to hustle and hustle, hustle, hustle. And yeah, that's great, I'd say.
Excellent. So we've got a fantastic lineup of judges, mentors, speakers. Can you just tell us who's going to be along at the weekend?
Everybody. No, I'm only joking. Who's going to be there? So from judges, like, we have Nicola Bird, 11890 is the original, the founder of 11890, now Cloud 90, is it?
Yeah.
That's her new one. Nicola is one of probably the top female entrepreneurs ever to come out of Limerick. She's known across Ireland. She's a fantastic speaker. So Nicola's on the judging panel, along with Shane McCarthy from Mobinol. So Mobinol will be probably Limerick's top app development company. And Shane was actually a mentor at the first Startup Weekend we ran in Limerick. Shane's a bit of a hero on the startup scene in Limerick. But Well, it's David O'Flynn from Tollison's private equity. So David would have exited one, if not two, startups before, and he owns, or he's the CEO of his own investment company basically. David he's the governor from UL, I'm nearly sure, and he's on the board here in UL. But David's a guy I met about 6 months ago, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him and having him on the judging panel. And the last one on the judging panel then is a rep from Bank of Ireland, and I'm nearly sure it's Deirdre. I'm not 100%. We'll solidify that and confirm tomorrow. Then we're looking at the minters. Like the minters, we have some fantastic minters from David Quaid, who's the head of inbound marketing at Kim Technologies here in Limerick, servicing Europe. Keith Kennedy, who's doing design UX UI. He was a mentor up at the Startup Weekend up in Dublin, and he was a mentor at our last Startup Weekend here in Limerick as well. Who else? Gillian Barry, so he's the Enterprise Liaison Officer with LIT over at Hartnett Centre. Gillian has a background in software, but she does a lot for the local startup community and scene. The other amazing mentors that we have, of course, Ed Cavan is coming down from Dublin. Ed is a good mate of mine, at Clear Pressa on Twitter. Ed is the number one, and I won't say guy, the number one person in Ireland for putting together your slide deck for investment for startups. So any HPSUs out there, any scaling startups, Ed's your guy if you want to put together a pitch presentation. Who else have we coming down? Gene Murphy from Start Local, co-founder of Startup Ireland. Gene is really one of the main instigators, I think, of bringing Startup Weekend to Ireland. He's ran so many of them up in Dublin, and I'm delighted to have himself and Ed coming down for this event. We've Martina Skelly from Yellow Schedule. She's definitely one of Limerick's other top female entrepreneurs. She's one of our speakers on this Sunday night, and I'm sure there's John Peavoy also. John Peavoy's ex-trustee. So John gave a talk here a few weeks ago in Nexus, and it was one of the best talks that has ever got a response in Limerick from what I've heard in the startup scene. So there's some really, really cool people involved at present, from mentors to judges. I think we have a great balance so far, and there's probably 3 or 4 more mentors to be added.
Brilliant. So we've kind of heard what the weekend has in store for the participants, but for the guests that are going to come along on Friday and Sunday night, who should come along, and what exactly should they expect to be treated to?
Good question. Who should come along? Well, to answer that just specifically, it should be anybody who has an interest in startups, idea generation, innovation, or the entrepreneurial landscape. That's who should be coming along to this. I mean, it's people who have an interest in supporting the local startup community and who want to understand what's happening in Limerick at the moment. I would be inviting everybody, people who are high up in multinationals, people who are business owners, students who want to see what it's like working in a startup and who don't want to participate, people in Limerick who support the startup scene, people in Limerick who are entrepreneurial, anybody. And I don't just mean what would you call them, commercialised entrepreneurs, go down the road of social entrepreneurs, go down the road of social innovators, go down the road of educational innovators or entrepreneurs. I mean, that's the kind of people we're looking for, people who have an interest in supporting the local startup community, because this is going to be full of energy, passion, innovation, excitement, and I'm not just trying to use buzzwords here either. I mean, the ideas people are coming up with are there to try and solve big problems on a local, national and international scale. I mean, that's what innovation is to me, problem solving at the highest level, whether it's big or small. What should they expect? What I'm saying, passion, energy, excitement, vibrancy. I mean, the last event was one of the most vibrant events I had been to in Limerick in 3 years. That's what you want. There's a reason we've taken time out of our work schedule to organise events like this. It's because they bring a huge value to the local startup community and to people like us. And the more of these we can have, the better. And the only way we're going to have more of these events in Limerick is simply by having a wider audience, having a more engaged audience, and allowing them to become brand advocates for Startup Week in Limerick.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right, so they're getting the
Startup Week in Limerick.
They're getting the energy, they're getting the vibrancy. They're after a long week. Are they going to be? Is there going to be some beverages? Is there going to be some food?
I didn't want to just sell it alone on that, so I sort of left that out of it. But excuse me. Yeah, there will be. We're having a food and wine reception on the Friday night. So again, we're expecting about 200 people there. There is food being sponsored on the Friday night from Canteen in Limerick. You're smiling at me, Stephen. There's been food sponsored on the Friday night. Basically, we're going to have a food and wine reception on the Friday night. We want the wider circle community coming in. We want them networking and engaging before, and soon after then we're going to start the pitch competition. You know, at the first pitch where people go up and give their 60 seconds. On the Sunday night, we're going to have a closing party. Now that closing party, like, there's only two words I can describe it: kick-ass. It's going to be unbelievable. The last party we had finished up at about 4:30. Is our live stream going okay, Stephen?
Someone just tried to ring you there, Shane, I'm sorry.
Yeah.